All right, let's get it on, baby. A living room edition of The Sweat presented by DraftKings is coming at you. I'm Emerson Latzia. We're about to do that thing you like here for the next 55 minutes. So we got the best DFS and Sportsbook plays on the diamond. We're 5 days out, by the way, from college football kicking off. So we've got a betting preview of the ACC, maybe a long shot there, can make a title run. Plus, Patrick Cantlay makes history, but does he make the betting cards of our golf analysts? But first, come on, man. It's Monday. Let's overreact to NFL storylines, especially preseason storylines, with DraftKings contributors Pierce Dietrich and Jeff Ulrich. Gentlemen, I think the biggest storyline of the weekend really had nothing to do with what was going on the field. It came out of UFC 278, actually, where Dana White and Gronk spilled all the tea. White says he had a deal in place for Tom Brady and Gronk to join the Raiders ahead of the 2020 season. But John Gruden was like, I don't want it. He put the kibosh on it. So, Jeff, if those two end up going to Vegas, let's put our tin hats on here, a little hypothetically speaking, what are the chances the Raiders are hoisting the Lombardi Trophy the last 2 seasons?
I think we got preseason football. We got Isaiah Likely scoring like 200 points here, and we got to talk about Brady and Gronk.
Yeah, you're damn right.
0% chance that the Raiders are hoisting any Lombardi trophies. Look, the Bucs had a top 10 defense. The Bucs had an O-line. The Bucs had Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. The Bucs had Bruce Arians, who was bringing people together rather than doing whatever John Gruden was doing, the complete opposite in Las Vegas. The only thing Tom Brady would have been hoisting if he had gone to the Vegas Raiders was an old age pension security check, because he would have been retired by now, been done putting up with all this nonsense for that organization. No, look, I'm sorry. You can hypothetical all you want. And yeah, Brady would have done this and that. He went to Tampa for a very good reason, because he really liked the setup. And yeah, it would not have worked with John Gruden. There's no way John Gruden and Tom Brady would have gotten along, first of all, in my opinion. And the Raiders just didn't have the infrastructure. The Bucs, he was walking into like a top 10 defense. It was the perfect storm. A top 5 receiving core. No, sorry. No bueno, would not have happened.
I mean, this coming in like a month or so after like the Miami report. Like, I kind of respect Tom Brady for trying to play for every NFL team, like before he does retire. But Pierce, what an absolute shot to the gut here for Raiders fans. Like, where would you have ranked the Raiders among your Super Bowl favorites with Brady and Gronk on that roster, dude?
No, not much different. Like, all respect to Dana White. I don't know what he's doing trying to wheel and deal in the NFL. I would like to hear Gruden's side of the story. Not that Gruden is really, the most trustworthy guy that we want to listen to. But there's got to be another side to the story. I don't know why you would just pass up on Tom Brady. Apparently, though, according to Tom Brady, it was because, and I won't use Tom Brady's language, but it was because that team decided to stick with another guy that Tom Brady thought was a terrible quarterback. And even Tom Brady said it himself, I'm glad I didn't go there. I wasn't going to win with that team. He's right. You're not going to win with Ruggs and Edwards at receiver, a below average line, a below average defense. He probably would, like Jeff mentioned, wouldn't have made it halfway through the season. I think the story is now that we're learning that Tom Brady called Derek Carr a thing that I guess we can't say on.
Yeah, no, for sure. And what was interesting, it was really Gronk who brought it up too over that like broadcast over the weekend. And it's like, okay, if you're going to bring it up, let me just like tell the story here. But you guys don't think, like Jeff, you don't think had they gone there, like maybe some like veterans on the back 9 of their career who are still like useful, can still put up points, would say, hey, I'll take like the discount to go play with these guys?
Of course, like they could have remodeled the roster completely, but like
Antonio Brown would have made things really good.
I don't know if they would have taken him back.
Brown in Vegas, come on.
No way, dude.
Yeah, I mean, the person's making my point. I mean, like to get the right players in, to get the right mix, it just would have been tough. They already had a good mix going in Tampa, right? Like Bruce Arians, the one thing they were missing was just a competent quarterback. Wasn't going to throw 40 interceptions in his system. That's exactly what they had in Tom Brady. And then they bolstered the receiving core with guys that Tom Brady were already friends with. So I can't see it working out.
Because like Tampa Bay went ahead and assembled like one of the most deepest and like most talented rosters in the NFL. The team is built to win now, which is why like Brady guys, like he is back in the building. Our long national nightmare is over. But with a team built to win now, it sucks for him that he's returning to camp with like a seriously diminished O-line here. So the injuries could quickly derail their plans in Tampa Bay. But Pierce, would you fade this offense right now until the team proves that it can actually keep Brady upright?
No, we're overreacting to
Okay.
Stinney. Just had a 54 PFF grade last season, so losing him doesn't really matter. Jensen, on the surface, to say, yeah, it would hurt losing your starting center for at least 2 or 3 months, but you look at his PFF grade and his backup is comparable, so it's not really a big deal. Tampa doesn't seem to be freaking out, and if they were really concerned, top 10 center and JC Tretter is out there and he's available.
Yeah.
Number 2 pass blocking guy. Now the rumor is that he is being blacklisted because he's also the head of the NFLPA and he's been pretty outspoken against the NFL. It does seem strange that maybe one of the best centers in football doesn't have a team, but push come to shove, if things really get bad, Tampa should consider giving him a call. And if they're not, then I don't think they're in that bad of a situation right now.
Okay, Jeff, how bad of a situation do you believe Tampa Bay is in right now?
Yeah, so there's 2 components to this. From a fantasy perspective, like, yeah, you don't need to really even adjust your rankings. If anything, if the Bucs offensive line is bad, it could just lead to like more Brady throwing late in games with garbage time. If they're, they get behind in a couple spots, I think the yardage and the receptions and all that, the philosophy, nothing's really going to change there. Maybe you bring up the injury worries with Brady. That is completely possible as well. Maybe it becomes riskier from that, but where I do think this is going to be an issue and where I think you should be attacking and fading the Bucs is in the betting markets. Let's not forget here, the New Orleans Saints have a defense that is just as good as the Bucs. It may even be better, but these are very comparable defenses. So on one side of the ball, these 2 teams are equal. And then when you start to take away some of the Bucs O-line depth, and then you look at what the Saints have done on offense, adding receivers, Jameis Winston was putting up career numbers in this offense. Like, why are the Saints plus 310 to win this division? It really made no sense to me when the Bucs had a healthy O-line. Now that their O-line isn't healthy, this number has not moved. This number has not moved at all. I think that the Saints at plus 310 to win the NFC South, and let's not forget, they're like 5-1 versus Brady or something.
Yeah.
Like
They've owned the Bucs.
Yeah, they've owned the Bucs. So I love this bet, and I love it more now that the Bucs do have some actual injury issues. So that's the way I'm looking at the Bucs right now. Completely fine for fantasy. I don't think it's that big a deal, but for betting, yeah, I'm going to fade them. Absolutely. I think the Saints are a great bet.
Yeah, Bucks also still with the shortest odds to win the NFC at plus 330 right now. Packers right behind them at plus 400. Speaking of offensive lines, though, here, Jeff, reports out of Pittsburgh say the Steelers line could actually be even worse this year. It's apparently looked terrible through a couple preseason games. It hasn't stopped rookie Kenny Pickett, though, from delivering a couple strong preseason performances. Mitch Trubisky apparently remains the top dog in this race. Which guy is best for the team? Which one has the most fantasy like potential? Or maybe it is the same guy. What do you think here, Jeff?
God, this is gonna hurt me. This hurts. It's gonna hurt for me to say it, but like Pickett is the best thing for this team.
Yeah.
He's got a quicker release. Mitch was terrible behind a bad O-line in Chicago. Mitch needs time. He's not going to get it with Pittsburgh. If Mitch Trubisky goes out there, he's going to be the sacrificial lamb this year. It's going to be a situation where, you know what? We don't want a Joe Burrow, Cincinnati year 1 situation with Pickett. Mitch, go out there and take one for the team, buddy, because Pickett's got the quicker release. You saw it in the 2-minute drill. I know it's preseason, people, but like the stats don't lie. Mitch Trubisky's release is like almost a second slower than Pickett's in the preseason action so far. So real life, are you a Pittsburgh fan? You want to win this year? Yeah. You want to see Kenny Pickett out there long term. Do you want to see Kenny Pickett out there this year? Absolutely not. This O-line is absolutely terrible. And Najee Harris owners, cover your eyes, cover your ears, make a trade. This is going to go
You guys didn't even put him in your top 10 running back rankings last week.
No. And this is why, though. This is exactly why. So no, Kenny Pickett absolutely, I think is going to be the best for the fantasy potential of guys like George Pickens, of everyone's favorite darling George Pickens and Deontay Johnson. But I don't know if you'll see him out there because it does sound like the Steelers realize this is a problem and they're just going to stick with Mitch until he's too hobbled to go out there anymore. So very interesting situation lining up in Pittsburgh right now. Yeah,
for sure. Pierce, do you agree with that? Because the coaches seem to want to take like this safe approach with Pickett. And when you read these reports about the offensive line, you watch them just in these preseason games alone, like it's starting to make a little more sense.
I'll be a little bit more optimistic.
Okay.
Let's think of it this way. The line was terrible last season, and you had a terrible quarterback, and yet they still made the playoffs, playing in a pretty decent division. And I agree, yeah, if it is bad, you throw Trubisky to the Wolves. But I also believe that you go with the experienced quarterback if it's really close. If Pickett doesn't really win the job, Rudolph has looked the best, but he's been mainly playing against practice squad teams. But all of them have looked good. Their weapons have looked really good. The receivers have graded out really well. Their tight ends have played well in the first 2 games. The weapons are there. If the line can just be a little bit better, they can win 10 games. They can go to the playoffs. And you could probably get there with Trubisky. Like, he's only 28 years old. The guy's got a lot left. He was on tough teams in Chicago. He got a year to sit out to practice. Unless Pickett goes out there and just absolutely impresses and wows guys, I think you just stick with the experienced quarterback, especially if you're going to have line issues. You don't want Pickett to have to deal with that early in his career. That can really, look at David Carr. That just destroyed what could have been a great career by throwing him to the Wolves in Houston.
Oh God, that was, no one, I believe, has been sacked more in a season than that guy. Who's just consistently beaten up. Let's wrap this segment here, guys, by looking back at the biggest offensive explosion of the weekend. Bills putting up 42 preseason points against Denver. They scored touchdowns on their first 6 drives. Buffalo is the favorite on the DK Sportsbook right now, Jeff, to be the highest scoring team this year, plus 550, their current odds. How tasty does that bet look to you?
It's not bad. I think that the Bills at worst probably going to be like top 3. So you're getting plus 550 here.
Yeah.
You're basically fading a Josh Allen injury to at least have a shot at this, but they're not my favorite bet on the board. Not by a long shot. And that's because there's a team that's just getting absolutely dismissed here. Not even in the top 8 of the odds, behind teams like the Cowboys, the Rams. Give me the San Francisco 49ers at plus 1,600. Trey Lance throwing to Deebo Samuel, Brandon Ayuk, George Kittle, running over teams like the Seattle Seahawks, the Arizona Cardinals. The San Francisco 49ers, in my opinion, just have so much potential with Trey Lance at quarterback that at plus 1,600, if they're going to be at longer odds than the Eagles, even the Broncos, I love Russell Wilson, but even the Broncos and the Cowboys, oh my God, I think that's a great value bet right there. I think that the 49ers, if this thing comes together with Trey Lance, you will see something special circa, Patrick Mahomes in his first season as like a non-red shirter. So at the very least here, again, it's just a value proposition. What other team down at here has the same type of explosive capabilities as that offense with Kyle Shanahan and Trey Lance? I don't think there is one. I think plus 1,600 for the 49ers, a very good value bet there down the board.
Yeah, I just think with that team, it's like Lance being an unknown. And if you look into their offensive line, they've got a couple rookies. They've got, I believe, a new center this year as well. So there could be that scenario where Lance experienced some growing pains and that offensive line plays like a bottom 10 unit. But it's tough to see, to expect. You don't really know what to expect with that team.
Talent overcomes a lot. It overcomes a lot. And they've got a really, really experienced and offensive-minded head coach. So.
Okay. All right. Good stuff. Pierce, what do you want to do here, dude? You like the Bills? Is that a good bet?
With the unknowns on San Francisco, we could see them going in either direction. Yes. The unknowns for Buffalo, it looks like it just only goes up.
Yeah,
it's insane. We all know they passed the ball. We know they've been a top 3 scoring team. But in the preseason, you've got guys that we did not expect to all of a sudden be stars that are Gabe Davis, as you mentioned earlier, Mr. 4-touchdown Gabe Davis. Is looking really, he's a top 10 rater or top 10 rated player in the preseason so far. The rookie, Shakir, looks pretty amazing out of Boise State. These guys, Jamison Crowder can't even get on the field. That's how deep and strong this team is. Oh, by the way, they've got Dawson Knox. They got OJ Howard. We know that Singletary can catch out of the back.
Zach Moss is back too from injury in the backfield.
They've got the Raheem Blackshear, undrafted free agent out of Virginia Tech. He looks good. Duke Johnson can catch passes out the back, but he's probably not going to make the team. I wouldn't be surprised if Jamison Crowder doesn't make the team. This is ridiculous. I would love to see some of the prop bets on these tertiary receivers for Buffalo. I don't think they exist, but I would be interested in taking a shot on one of these guys having a breakout season.
All right, good stuff, guys. Pierce, you are free to go. Jeff needs you to hang out because we're bringing on Colin to talk Tour Championship, and that Patrick Cantlay, so hot right now. All right, it took a late birdie push, but Patrick Cantlay, guys, headed back to East Lake, ready to defend his FedEx Cup title. Clutch birdie there on 17. Had a bit of luck, a little bit of luck on that hole as well, helping him edge out Scott Stallings to win his second straight BMW championship. So Jeff Ulrich is back on your screen. Colin Sherwin is here as well. Jeff, I'll start with you. Was yesterday more about like what Cantlay did or what Stallings did not do? Because he failed to convert like numerous birdie opportunities.
It's a little bit of both, right? Like Scott Stallings didn't play bad. I mean, he actually played better than Cantlay, like tee to green. Like you said, he led the tournament in strokes gained approach, but like you got to convert down the stretch. And it's not like he choked it away, but when you're trying to beat a field like this and trying to beat a player the quality of Patrick Cantlay, you can't leave the door open a crack. Like you can't expect Cantlay to make a mistake down the stretch, especially a guy this kind of nails when it comes to this time of year, as we saw last year. So no, I think Cantlay went out and won the event. I mean, he got the sliver of chance when he needed it and he converted. Cantlay was fine. He gained 9 strokes ball striking. Like he didn't just like luck out with the putter. He actually struck it far better in this event than he did last season. So no, I think Scott Stallings played fine. He just, he lost out to the better player, the guy who's quite frankly just more clutch and should win in those situations like 9 times out of 10, right? So really good performance by Scott Stallings. I'm certainly not going to say that he gave it away. Patrick Cantlay deserves the win and he deserves it. He converted down the stretch. He was the guy who held it together the most.
Yeah, Colin, this title did not come easy. Like he had the 2 bogeys, right? I believe around the turn. He found himself 2 strokes off the lead, like at that point, set by Stallings. And it felt like he was on the cusp of yet another close call, but he was able to really battle back down the stretch.
Yeah, you know what? If you can make shots to win $17 million at East Lake, you've put yourself under that immense pressure before. And I think being able to recall that is why Cantlay was such a good choice this week, which is why we picked him here on this show last Monday. That's right. Back-to-back weeks, we have put the winner on the board.
Hell yeah.
So I'm not going to make a pick for this week yet, but I'm just saying, get on the Twitter and tail, baby, because we are just giving away money here. Patrick Cantlay is one of the best overall players in the world. He obviously plays East Lake well. He's going to be in the mix this week again. Even if he is 2 shots back of Scotty Scheffler, I still think he's probably heads up. Even with the 2 shots, I would take Cantlay over Scheffler right now.
Okay, cool. So it's crazy too. You look at like his entire season here, guys. Like he's earned 11 top 10 finishes on the year. Like that's the best of his career, the best mark of anyone on the PGA Tour. And as we look ahead to the Tour Championship, it's a 30-man field. You kind of just referred to it there, Colin, a second ago. Starting scores are based on like where guys stand in the FedEx Cup standings here. So $18 million to first place, to the first place finisher. Jeff, like what is your betting approach here to this kind of format? And, keep in mind for everyone at home too, you can also still bet the winner without the starting strokes.
Yeah. And that's like the biggest thing. There's basically 2 events that are going on for betting this week. Yeah. It's actually a really fun week for betting because you can bet the winner with starting strokes. So obviously Scotty Scheffler, well favored in there at plus 260. He's got the 2-shot lead. He should be. He's also like the best player in the world or one of the top 3 anyways. But you can also go to the winner without starting strokes, just the guy who just shoots the most under par this week. Yeah. So you'll have to track that yourself. The sportsbook will track it for you too, but the odds are completely different as we can see, right? So, you can get guys like John Rahm there who, coming off like had the lowest 2 rounds of the weekend on Saturday and Sunday at plus 900. Like those are bets that I like. Doesn't necessarily mean you have to bet that guy in the other market, but there's 2 ways to look at it. So I do think that this year though, like with just how much parity we've seen and how much sort of jockeying back and forth between guys going on runs, I think this is a year where you will see someone come from behind and win this. There's just too much talent in this field. There's too many guys who it's just too impossible to write off. Like we've seen Sam Burns win twice. Tony Finau's won twice. Rahm looks like he's finally getting it together and potentially trying to make a run here at the end of the year. So I think there's too many guys chasing to just say, oh yeah, it's just going to be another year. It'll just be one of the top 3 guys. I think there's a very good chance to see someone come from behind this year. So I really think this is a wide open one. I think that you should be looking at both fields. And again, just a reminder, like there's multiple ways to bet this event and there's probably some really good values out there as well.
Yeah, Rom's weekend at BMW, like it was expected to be a massive disappointment, like around what was that, like Friday afternoon. But yeah, he definitely rallied to shoot the best score of the weekend. Colin, what's your game plan here this week? Like, how's the betting card taking shape right now?
I'm looking for guys that are a little lower, that are going to start this tournament a little bit further back, and they're just going to fire at pins. Look, it's 18 million up top and 6.5 million for second. So there is no, if you're a poker player, if you're familiar with the independent chip model, the move here is push all your chips into the middle of the table, fire at pins, take aggressive lines off the tee, try and, take aggressive putts. This is a tough course to putt. This is one of the 5 toughest courses to putt on the PGA Tour. So keep that in mind. You want a guy who can roll it a little. If Cam Smith was healthy, I'd be all over him this week. But I don't know what his health status. I might be betting him in game, seeing how he's walking, seeing how that hip looks, and seeing how he feels comfortable out there. But I think he's the best putter. He's the best matchup for this course. We just don't know his health status. So yeah, give me a guy that's a little bit further down the board. And that guy for me right now is going to be Rory McIlroy. So instead of betting him to win outright, I kind of like Rory McIlroy at plus 800 without the starting strokes, because I think he's just going to really attack pins all week and try and win the thing. And even if he comes up a little bit short, I think he'll end up with the best score.
Well, in like the first 3 go-rounds of this format, I believe it was Rory, guys, in 2019. He started 5 shots back off the lead. And then you had Dustin Johnson and Cantlay. They secured the following 2 FedEx Cup titles as they led entering the week. But Jeff, you kind of just mentioned you like, and Colin did as well, but Jeff, you said, hey, I actually kind of like some guys to come from a little behind this week. So how far behind then? Like, what chance are you giving someone more than 5 back? Like, what are you doing?
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, it really comes down to quality of player. Like, if you're looking further back, you need higher quality player. Like, I'm not taking like, I'm not going to go down and take, say, like Joaquin Niemann to make up like 8 strokes or something like that. He's pretty good, but like John Rahm to me is the target this week. And he's the target in both betting markets, like plus 1,600. I know he's 7 back, but again, like, he was 8th in strokes gained putting last week. I like him on courses where the greens are fast, where it's tough. That's what East Lake is. Guess who won the event last year without starting strokes? It was John Rahm. So, he putted well at this course last year. He's coming in with some confidence. And look, I mean, like the slow start is already over for John Rahm. Like, he's starting 7 back. That's basically what he's done the last 2 events. And then he's gained it all back on the weekend. Now he's just starting. He's like, oh, I'm already behind. This is great. Now I've got 4 rounds to make it up. I really like the spot for a potential John Rahm win. And I know it's a big ask, but like, I think you may see something special from him this week. So I know Colin likes Rory. I'm going to go with Rahm. And I do kind of like taking him in both betting markets. Plus 900 for the win with the starting strokes. I'll absolutely take that, because if he does fall a little bit short, maybe Cantlay or Scheffler just grind him off. You're still going to get plus 900 there for a guy who, like I said, had the best weekend rounds last week at the BMW Championship. That's going to be my target. I do think there's players down the list who you can be looking for potential like top 5s. Like Sung Jae Im is a guy who, maybe like a top 5 with starting strokes. He's starting a little bit behind, but it's not that bad. Plus 330 to finish in the top 5. I believe he's starting at 4 under. So, he's really not that far behind the next group of players. Sanjay typically putts a little bit better on Bermuda. This course has given him problems, but it's the 5th time for Sanjay M. Already the 5th time playing the Tour Championship. I think you'll see him potentially go hard this week. He's really solid off the tee, and that's another big factor at East Lake. You got to control your speed on the greens, but you got to be a good driver of the golf ball.
And back to your point about Rahm, let's not forget too, the world number 6 shot the best score last year at East Lake, and he has shown a tendency to play his best golf this year when he's got 2
kids now. He needs the money too. Absolutely needs it.
Yeah, he definitely would prefer the 18 mil over like the 6 mil. Hey man, listen, I've got 2 dogs. I totally get it as well. Colin, what do you think here, dude? How far back would you go in terms of like betting dudes who are already behind the 8 ball?
Yeah, first of all, I agree with that Rahm pick as well. I'm working my way down through my numbers at this point, and I do think I'm going to end up having a little tickle on Rahm as well. And again, he's a guy I like him more in the just to win this tournament market, even more so than in the market to win the overall, because being 7 back behind this field, man. This field is as tough as they come on tour. The good thing about this week is that you can eliminate a lot of like the sort of middling guys, I think. Adam Scott's not winning this tournament. Max Home is not winning this tournament. These guys are very, very good golfers. These are elite players. But against the strength of this field and with their position as to where they are, it's just going to be really tough. I think the guy who's really interesting to me is Matt Fitzpatrick, and he's a guy I'm going to take a little bit longer look at this week. Fantastic putter. Really rolls it as well as anybody. I think that's going to be a huge, huge factor this week. But can he keep the ball straight enough? And is he playing and is he in form well enough right now to do well at Eastlake? I'm not really sure. Xander Schauffele, obviously the numbers really favor him. He's played this course extremely well. 12 under, 15 under in the last 5 years. So he's a guy who can go real low this week as well. I don't like him with these prices though, but I think Schauffele's going to be a guy that's in the mix to win this thing on the non-starting strokes board. But again, I just don't think that price is strong enough to get there.
And I believe it was Will Zalatoris who nearly sank that putt in the last hole of the U.S. Open to force a playoff with Fitzpatrick. And then Zalatoris, it was last week. What was it? Friday or Saturday? He withdrew from the BMW with like the back injury here. So he's going to be starting at 7 under. Where do you think he's going to be on the leaderboard come the end of Sunday, Jeff?
Boy, I mean, I kind of like Zalatoris here. If we just, it's a real shame. I mean, I was kind of getting ready to target him for this event with, hopefully just having cooling off a little bit last week and then coming in. But, the betting price, he's still just fourth. I mean, obviously he's got to be kind of fourth. He's starting at 7 under, but, with the back issues now, it's really tough to gauge where this guy's going to be at. Yeah. I like the fact that, again, it's a tougher golf course where the greens are a little bit faster. That's typically where he's putted his best, just like TPC Southwind. But I mean, you're asking him to make up like 3 shots on, Cantlay and Scheffler here. And with a bad back, like it's just too much to ask. So I don't really know where Will Zalatoris is going to end up. I think that more than likely you'll probably see him not just pack it in, but potentially just end up a little bit further down than where he started. It's been a long year. He's had an amazing season. If the back gives him any issues this week, he's just going to go gentle. He's not going to be driving it his hardest out of the rough. I know there's a ton of money at stake here, but man, like the guy just grabbed his first win. He's got a long PGA Tour career ahead of him. I can't project him for like a top 5 finish right now. I wanted to like last week, but things change and you got to react.
Okay, for sure. So Colin, 2 starts ago, he claims his first PGA Tour victory. I think it was more precautionary, giving his high standing like on the points list is probably like his withdrawal. Although like
pretty bad, him stretching out on the
it didn't look good.
It didn't look good, Emerson.
In the last 36 rounds, he's 2nd in ball striking and 4th in total strokes gained. So where do you think, maybe if healthy, he did look a little crippled, like it looked like he was hurting a lot. Where do you think he finishes?
So fans of this program will know I am the Will Zal stan around here.
Yes, you are.
I had him 2 weeks ago to win. He won. I had him and Cantlay as my only outright picks last week. One goes home injured. The other one wins it. You may not call me a golf expert. I'm a college sports editor here at DraftKings Nation. I do some other things, but one thing I am an expert on is back pain. I have the drugs to prove it right here from my doctor. I have spent a good portion of my life in back with massive amounts of back issues. The Toradol feels so good when it goes in your butt. Let me tell you, I have done all of this stuff. There is no way that you can play 72 holes of golf with a back that looks like Will Zalatoris did and feel healthy just that many days.
He's also a stick. Like he is a twig. That guy is probably 120 pounds, like soaking wet. Like dude's got to go mash some weights.
He'll get bigger and stronger in physical therapy to repair his back, which is what he's going to need to do. I still have to do mine now, or else I end up locked up in bed for 3 and 4 days at a time. You can't play golf like that. There's just no way. I can't think of a sport, maybe except for like baseball, where the twisting that you do is just going to be such a problem. So
look at Tiger.
I love Zal.
Caught up to Tiger.
Yeah, for sure. And you know what? I want Zalatoris to have a long and successful career. I want him to shut it down now. If there wasn't so much money on the line this week, the difference between 1st and 30th is $17.5 million. I mean, just shut it down. But you know what? Get healthy. Don't get hurt. Try and do your best this week. If you can't go, you can't go. But don't mess up your career over this, my man.
Colin, I believe you mentioned at the top of the segment, you like Cantlay to overtake like Scheffler this week. So do you anticipate, is he like another pick to win for you? Cause he starts 2 shots back.
Yeah, I like Cantlay this week a lot. He sets up well on this course again, but I think this is a course for putters. I don't think there's a ton of value on Cantlay at plus 330. So I might not be betting him, even though I think if I had to throw a dart at a board, I think he'd probably be the guy that I take. I'm probably going to be looking a little bit further down the board at guys that can come from behind and make a run, because I think you're going to be getting better prices there. I agree with Rahm. I think Rahm is definitely one of those guys. Finau is a stay away. I don't think he putts it well enough on this course where he could be competitive. So
Jeff,
somewhere in that range though.
All right, Jeff, this segment is called Pin Placement. Tell me where Cantlay is at come the end of Sunday.
I'm going to say he's in the top 5, but I'm going to kind of agree with Colin here. I don't know if we're agreeing, but I'm not going to peg him for the win. I'm not sure that, again, like the putter hasn't been the best, club for him lately, and agreed, like with Colin, I mean, you need to kind of light it up with that club. So I also think he's chasing a guy in Scotty Scheffler who is pretty darn good himself. So I'm going to say Cantlay, around T4, he's going to be up there, but I just don't think he gets it done. Part of the reason though, is I just think that there's going to be a couple players who make serious runs this week. Yeah. Another guy, he's at -5. Like he's just getting no attention. Sam Burns. Guess how far behind Sam Burns was when he won the Colonial over Scotty Scheffler in the final round? He's 5 strokes behind. Yep. This is a player in Sam Burns who can absolutely light it up with his putter, who can absolutely go out there and gain 9 strokes for the week on Bermuda greens. So, I look at him, and if you're looking at 2 chasers, I mean, we've talked ad nauseum about Rahm. Like Sam Burns is a guy you need to take a hard look at this week. He has no fear. Yes, he's wild. Yes, the driver could get him in trouble. But if he drives it even semi-well here and the putter shows up, he's going to be there. And he's going to be a real big out here for these top players, because he's just going to be playing free swinging. He's 5 shots back. So I think Sam Burns is another guy I have pegged for like a top 5 finish.
All right, so Jeff, I mean, he's also 7th in birdie average for the season, which is something that will be necessary to close the gap. So I do believe you're onto something there. Last one, let's go quick here, guys. Scotty Scheffler then it doesn't sound like Colin, then you believe he's going to be the last man standing, but let's pin a placement or place his pin here. Where's he going to finish?
I got Scheffler somewhere between like 3 and 7. He just doesn't putt it well enough. We saw it on 18 yesterday. He had a chance to put himself in the clubhouse at -12, couldn't make an easy one. He's just not putting it well enough right now, I think, to compete at East Lake. But again, when you're starting at -10, you don't even have to compete. You just sort of have to hang on. So certainly a player that could be in the mix, top 3, but I've got him somewhere between 3 and 7. I think he falls back a little bit this week. But I think we're going to see a big 22-23 out of Scotty Scheffler. I think he's going to be player of the year next year as well.
Okay. Ulrich, bring us home.
Yeah, it's a good point on Scheffler's putting. Now, Cantlay won this event actually losing strokes putting last year, but I think there's too many quality players in the field for that to happen again. I'm going to say Scotty Scheffler T3, and I'm going to say he gets piffed by someone like a Rahm or a Burns, or maybe even like a Schauffele for the win.
Okay. All right. Jeff, your job here is done. Appreciate you hanging out with us. We are going to deliver an ACC betting preview with Colin, because remember, he just teased it. He's a college dude, and Julian after this quick break. All right, everyone. The college football season kicks off here in a handful of days. We've been previewing different conferences here over the past few weeks as we are excited for kickoff here, especially at the DK Sportsbook, which we're going to break down some odds. Look ahead to the ACC, a little preview for that conference with DK Nation's Colin Sherwin back on your screen. DraftKings contributor Julian Edlow is here as well. Jules, which team's win total is going over? Which one are you most confident in betting?
Yeah, I've actually wound up pretty high, or not pretty high, pretty invested, I guess, in the ACC one way or another with a lot of overs and unders. The first team that I went to was NC State, a juicy over 8.5. It was minus 150. It's kept going up. This team, they were plus money at 6.5 wins last year and were just fantastic all year long. They wound up getting the double overtime upset over Clemson. They bring back, 17 starters, I think it is, with the quarterback in Devin Leary. Like, they're going to be a really good team. They should win double-digit games, which, if you don't want to lay that juice, you go to the alternate win totals. We set some of those up from the Unreasonable Odds podcast. I personally reached out to our traders and said, you must add NC State. They listened to me. They added NC State over 9.5 wins. You're getting plus 165, I think, to get in double digits there. I like Pitt a lot on the other side. We can talk about them later, but my favorite over in the ACC is NC State.
All right. What do you like here, Colin?
God, that's so boring when we don't talk and then we end up with the same thing. Yeah, NC State's the lock here. This is really good at 8.5. Julian talks about returners. 82% of their entire talent pool is returning. That is 8th in the country. That is 7 players on offense, including Devin Leary, their quarterback, who's a stud. Yeah, I really like this this NC State team. I think the ACC as a whole this year is actually going to be a little bit better than they normally are. The entire league floor is raised a little bit, whereas I think the Pac-12 is and the Big 12 potentially could be going the other direction.
No, Big 12 is definitely moving in the right direction with the addition of UCF here in a couple of seasons.
Yeah, so enjoy our quarterback who throws more interceptions than touchdowns. So I would say this is for me, NC State's the other. My second choice, though, just to make it a little more interesting for television, I really like Miami this year. I think Miami can be really, really good. The talent is for sure there. Tyler Van Dyke, I think, is one of the better quarterbacks in the country. They got a marshmallowy schedule. They're only 50th in returners, but Mario Cristobal hit that portal hard. The only thing is you got to take away at least minus a half game because Mario Cristobal is going to make some in-game decisions that are going to be very questionable. But otherwise, I really like Miami on talent.
Yeah, and like with going back to like your Wolfpack pick, guys, I look at the schedule. It looks like a lot of like more toss-up or difficult, close games. But the fact that they have a top 10 defense and a top 10 quarterback, usually a combination that helps lead you to wins in close games. So, Jules, anyone going under their total?
Yes, and I've already used this one a lot on the show, so I'll just mention it and move on to another one I like a lot. The first one I bet was UNC under 7.5. I get that they have some young talent at quarterback. They have a good defense. Mac Brown's a good coach. I just don't see how this team, who went 6-6 in the regular season last year, gets to 8-4 this year with the pieces they have and the schedule they have. I just don't see how they get there. But the one that I've added and I'm getting even higher and higher on by the day is Georgia Tech under 3.5 wins.
Whoa.
Low number. I get it, but 4-8 just isn't in the cards here. There's 2 winnable games. They have an early one that they'll be a big favorite in, and then I'm going to give them the win against Duke, even though there's no gimme in that game. That gets them to 2. You look at the rest of the way, like they're going to have 2 decent-sized upsets to get to 4-8. They host a team like Virginia, who I'm also down on. If you want to play an under on Virginia, I'm not going to argue with you. Maybe they steal a game against Virginia and get to 3, but they need to have 2 pretty sizable upsets to get to 4-8. And you look at their schedule, they start as 20-plus point dogs against Clemson. They finish in what they'll be 20 or 30 point dogs against Georgia. The wins aren't on the schedule for the Georgia Tech team.
Ooh, wow. Yeah. Okay, Colin, who do you want the under on here?
So to back up what Julian's saying, North Carolina 109 in returning talent this year for all those players that they brought back. Just not really enough guys that are coming back. And Sam Howell, they've lost a lot. So just keep that in mind. I'm with Julian on Georgia Tech as well. I think that they're going to beat Western Carolina. I think they beat Duke because I actually have Duke as one of the maybe the worst team in the Power 5 this year. Duke is horrendous, and I think they're going to lose at Kansas big. But I think Georgia Tech, find 4 wins, man. I don't see it. I don't see any way they can get to 4. So for me, that's the way to go. I even think that, the Golden Knights of Central Florida will even knock them off as well. So I think Georgia Tech's definitely a short. The other team that I'm sort of looking at, and I really have questions about, I want to see what Syracuse does early in the season. They fired the worst offensive coordinator in the country. They bring back some talent, but not a ton. They've shown dynamic offense under Dino Babers before. They're trying to get back to that. I don't know if they have enough buy-in in like year 5 for him in Syracuse, year 6 in Syracuse, year 5 for him upstate New York. I don't know. And that's a tough schedule that they've got. They're going to get UConn, and that's about and Wagner. And those are the only gifts on the schedule. So Syracuse under 5, I don't hate either.
All right, Colin, you mentioned Tyler Van Dyke a few seconds ago. Bless you. All right. So Tyler Van Dyke. Yeah, you're very welcome.
It wasn't me, but I'm just trying to be polite.
That wasn't you?
It's fine. It's fine. So Tyler Van Dyke, you mentioned a few seconds ago from the U, plus 3,500 to win the Heisman. Is he the best bet to win the Heisman from the ACC?
I guess so. Here's the thing. I think Miami is just so dynamic all over the field that if they got that far, I don't know that he's going to get the credit that he deserves for being the catalyst for that offense. I think Miami just has dynamic, as they always do. That's never been the problem at Miami, is finding dynamic playmakers on the outside who can do something. So I don't love anyone in this league. I think this is the SEC's year. I don't see anybody outside of the SEC winning the Heisman this season for sure. Always possible. If Clemson could somehow run out 12-0, though, DJ Uiagalelei at 4,500, the narrative story there will be a lot because he was sort of blamed for so much of Clemson cratering. And then to flip that back up and have him be the guy that turned them around, Heisman voters love narrative, and that could be a guy. I've got Clemson under 10.5. That would have been one of my other unders as well. I think losing Brent Venables, and they've just been too much roster turnover. I don't think Dabo's handled the NIL era very well. So I'm under on Clemson this year. But if they did get there, I think Uiagalelei at 4,500 could have some value.
Yeah. I mean, they have that defense, though, which some people say, like, they may not even need the passing game to return to form with that defense.
But who's going to coordinate that? The best college defensive coordinator I've maybe ever seen is now at Oklahoma. So I don't know.
You need better play at the quarterback position for Clemson, 100%. If you're going to beat that win total for sure. Jules, what do you think? Tyler Van Dyke, best ACC preseason Heisman bet right now?
No, I'm not willing to go in on him. And I don't want to say I'm down on Miami. I know Colin's high on them. I just think Pittsburgh's, we'll touch on this, but I think it could be Pittsburgh's year in that division once again. Big statement by Colin saying it's SEC, going to go to the SEC. And I am an SEC guy, but like, if I had to just get rid of the odds, I would go with CJ Stroud as the guy who's going to win it. I think he and Bryce Young both have the big seasons. And then Ohio State's offense is a little better, and Bryce Young got it last year, so they go the other way. But like, if we're going to the ACC, first off, I'll say Colin's saying he's down on Clemson, so these kind of both work together. Maybe it's NC State's year again, and they win 11 games and win that division and win the ACC. Devin Leary at plus 5,000, I would go with him over going with Miami QB. And then to take Colin's narrative and just go a different way with it, if we're both wrong about Clemson, what if it's because of the quarterback? What if it's because of DJ and they make the switch to Cade Klubnik, who's one of the highest recruits in the country? He's sitting there at plus 6,000. What if they get rid of DJ within a week or two and Klubnik plays 10 games and they go undefeated in those games and win the ACC? Like, there's a path there. So those are the two darts that I would throw in the ACC, even though I'm pretty confident the award's not coming from that division or that conference.
All right, dudes, we're going to go ahead and combine these last two questions because we're tight on time. So who are the two division winners who will face off in the title game here? Jules, two ACC division winners.
I mean, Clemson's probably going to bounce back and get there, but I will be pulling for NC State. I will have some money on NC State, and they can do it. It's going to be a tough game to upset them 2 years in a row with Clemson kind of out for revenge. So, my head says Clemson, my heart says NC State. On the other side, I'm all about Pittsburgh in that Coastal Division. They have a really good defense. They reload at quarterback with Slovis. And Miami, like Colin said, they're good. They have talent, but they can make mistakes. I think that given the pricing, I'm pretty even on these two teams. So definitely give me Pittsburgh plus 210 there.
All right, Colin, talk to me.
No team can survive Pat Narduzzi yelling at them for 2 straight seasons and win 2 straight division titles. So I'm out on Pitt. That's just not happening. So yeah, give me the Canes, give me the Wolfpack. I think UM somehow finds a way to get back to the championship game again this year. But I believe Mario Cristobal doesn't have them prepared for the title game. And I think one of the best coaches in college football, and Dave Doran, who I would definitely put in my somewhere between top 6 and top 8 for sure. I think he has NC State prepared. Now, yeah, I think NC State miraculously and truly one of the great coaching jobs ever if it happens, because that's a tough place to win, man. Raleigh, you're the 3rd best team in a lot of your own market, and they're still finding a way to win. But yeah, I got NC State doing it this year. NC State, ACC champions.
State.
I can't believe it.
Okay. Love it.
Yeah.
And then, Jules, did you give us your pick? It was the title game pick, but who wins the whole thing for Jules?
I think that it's whoever, comes from that Atlantic side, which, I guess I didn't give a concrete answer on. I'm going to guess Clemson, but I think that NC State, from an odds perspective, NC State is the bet. Given the odds, I just think it's tough to go against Clemson, and with that bounce back year and that defense. But yeah, if you're betting it, NC State's the bet.
All right, good stuff, guys. Appreciate it. We got one more block to go, one more break to go. We're going to cover the bases. DFS and Sportsbook plays around Major League Baseball with Paul Bruno right after this. All right, folks, we got about 5 minutes left in this show. One thing we have not done yet is cover the bases, and we're going to do just that right now with RotoWire's Paul Bruno. So he's going to share with us his favorite DFS and DraftKings Sportsbook plays on tonight's MLB slate. I believe the main slate, 8 games. First base, favorite DFS pitcher. Where are you going?
Look at Scherzer and Urias are the top 2 pitchers on the board at 11,300 and 10,000 respectively. That's just too much money to pay because they got quality opposition in the Yankees and Brewers respectively. I look for more one-sided matchups with the higher win probability for pitchers who are at the top of their game. Look down to the 3rd and 4th guys. I'd much rather use the next 2 guys on the list. Consider that Sonny Gray has allowed only 5 earned runs over his last 5 starts while he's covered 26 and 2/3 innings. allowing only 18 hits and 10 walks while striking out 32 batters. That's a whip just above 1. You get him for $8,500 when he faces a Texas club that's 11 games under 500 and trotting out starter Kyle Ragans, who's been torched in his last 2 starts. So I like the win probability there. Similarly, the Tampa Rays are rolling and host the Angels tonight. Lefty Jeffrey Springs costs $7,700. He's facing a lineup that yesterday featured 4 batters very near or below the Mendoza line and will be likely missing Ohtani, who's dealing with an illness. For goodness sakes, the Angels fan base has to be screaming for offensive upgrades to aid this Top Gun attack. They just can't rely on 2 bats out of the 9 slots going forward.
We need to save them. We need, like, the world needs to save Mike Trout and Shohei Ohtani. Get them out of LA as soon as possible. Second base, speaking of some bats here, favorite DFS hitter?
I go back to the Angels and Rays game and lean on Randy Arozarena, who's been piling up RBIs like crazy the last couple of weeks, 17 in his last 15 games. He could be part of a Tampa stack, in fact, in this one, as he costs $5,000. I also like Tyler O'Neill, the Cards outfielder, for $4,800. He's on a tear, which includes a productive power stroke and 44 multi-hit games in his last week, and he has a platoon edge against Drew Smyly. And for added flexibility in my lineup, how about throwing in Albert Pujols, who still costs only $2,000, despite the fact that he's apparently discovered time travel. He's producing like the 30-year-old version of himself with 15 hits, including 6 homers in his last 9 games.
Yeah, the countdown to 700. Everyone's like rooting for it. He says even if he's like maybe 3 away come the end of the season, he's not going to come back just to hit like those 3 and hit 700. I said you have to do it if you're that close. Third base, pitcher prop.
I go back to the Angels starter Jeffrey Springs against the mostly AAA caliber lineup that I highlighted earlier. To watch him hang around long enough to strike out 6 batters and collect on that prop at -110 and pick up the win for +120 as well. And another one that I like, Jordan Montgomery's been very impressive in winning his first 3 starts with the Cards and will look to continue that role with a win over the Cubs tonight that would pay +140.
Okay, and then let's go home now. Let's go to a hitter prop.
I've been a big fan of Pujols. You touched on it earlier. I'd love to see him reach the 700 big flies as well. I say he moves one step closer with the favorable matchup against lefty Drew Smyly, so he gets a platoon advantage. You pay off at +390. I mentioned also the mismatch between Texas and Minnesota earlier. I think the Twins should have an easy time with the Rangers and starter Ragans. So I look for Carlos Correa to collect at least 1 ribby and win that +155 prop. The guy's been hitting regularly, 9 hits, 9 out of the last 11 games. He's reached base safely via the hit route, and +155. He's overdue for an RBI or 2, so I say he gets it tonight.
All right, Paul, before you get out of here, how about extra bases? Give me a run line, money line, or game total bet tonight that you like on the 8-game main slate.
Everybody's looking forward to that matchup in New York tonight, but I think runs are going to be at a premium based on the matchup. We all know the year Scherzer's having, but how about what Domingo Germán's doing? He's been up only 9 earned runs in his last 5 starts. The 2 pitchers at the top of their game will go a long way to keeping a lid on the offenses tonight. Take the underside of the 7.5 prop here. The late game features 2 potent attacks, and I know RotoWire's value report calls for a Dodgers stack. In fact, I go along with that view, with both clubs continuing to score runs at a very high rate like they've done recently. So I think the 7.5 is a low number there. I say they go over in that one.
All right, good stuff, Paul. Great seeing you, man. Good catching up with you. Everyone, that's a show. We got the slate tonight, 5 o'clock Eastern time, and then we'll be back in studio tomorrow morning, a Tuesday morning, 11 o'clock Eastern time for another edition of The Sweat. So appreciate you hanging out with us and watching, and we'll see you tomorrow.